What if your lunch break morphed into a Hitchcock nightmare, city fountains gushing blood red as every payphone rings, and Jack Lemmon whispers, "Buddy boy, meet me at the movies!" Seconds later, a brass band marches by in 3D glasses, and overhead, a blimp projects meteors across the sky. Welcome to Hollywood's golden era hype machine, where 101 jaw-dropping stunts blurred reality so hard you bought a ticket just to feel sane again. Valentino's Empty Casket Parade. During the 1922 Valentino craze, famous players Lasky rolled an ebony coffin down Hollywood Boulevard, behind 20 sobbing pallbearers and tails. Reporters were told, "Romance itself has died unless you see blood and sand tonight." Traffic froze, flashbulbs flared, and the press wires caught fire. At the crescendo, Valentino stepped from a waiting hearse, kissed the coffin, and swore to revive passion inside the theater. Opening week receipts tripled, proving morbid curiosity sells love better than roses. MGM's Roaring Rail Tour. To launch its new logo in 1928, MGM loaded Leo the Lion into a custom steel cage mounted on a Pullman car dubbed the Roar Road Special. At every station from New York to Los Angeles, executives staged whistle-stop rallies with marching bands and free milk for kids. Parents came for the spectacle. Newsreels came for the roar captured by onboard microphones. By the time Leo reached Culver City, the studio's brand was literally echoing across America's railways. The town that became Paramount. Paramount Pictures convinced sleepy Ardmore, Oklahoma, to rename itself Paramount, Oklahoma, for one wild weekend in 1930. In exchange for a temporary new post office sign, the studio flew in stars, lit the courthouse with Klieg lights, and staged nightly street dances. Newspapers printed the postmarks, and souvenir seekers mailed thousands of letters just for the cancel stamp. The Free Press turned a modest melodrama, The Texan, into a surprising regional smash. William Castle's Flying Skeleton. Showman director William Castle wired a glow-in-the-dark skeleton to swoop over audience heads during House on Haunted Hill, 1959. He coined it Emergo, and paid theater owners $10 for every genuine scream documented by ushers. The gag cost pennies, yet local papers covered the fainting teens and spilled popcorn like real news. Castle crowed that he'd given moviegoers a ride worth more than any roller coaster, and box offices rattled with coin to prove it. Howard Hughes bra bombers. When censors balked at Jane Russell's cleavage in The Outlaw, 1943, Howard Hughes hired pilots to drop parachute-rigged brassieres over 20 college campuses. Tagged cards read, "Approved by Hughes's new aerodynamic design. See it in action." Deans protested, dormitories erupted in pillow fight hype, and magazines ran photos of co-eds waving lingerie like victory flags. The Air Force frowned, but Hughes secured the front-page coverage he needed to bully exhibitors into booking the picture. Warner Brothers, Kong handshake. For King Kong, 1933, Warner publicists parked the film's 18-foot mechanical ape hand outside Times Square. Passers-by could climb a ladder to shake Kong's paw, while a barker snapped souvenir Polaroids. The line snaked 3 city blocks, and radio announcers described squealing kids lost in the furry grip. The tactile thrill turned curiosity into commitment. Ticket lines formed the next morning before breakfast. RKO's Midnight Martians. Capitalizing on Orson Welles' infamous 1938 radio panic, RKO leaked telegrams hinting that real UFO wreckage would appear in the lobby for Citizen Kane's sneak preview. Security guards wheeled in a smoking silver pod at intermission, only to reveal a placard. "The invasion is of your imagination. Cinema does the rest." Patrons, already primed for hoaxes, raved about Kane's reality-bending power, giving the studio free publicity from coast-to-coast columnists desperate to debunk the gag. Mae West's Jailhouse Press junket. Facing obscenity charges for her stage play Sex, Mae West flipped scandal into sales by surrendering at Manhattan's Jefferson Market Courthouse in a white satin gown and ermine cape, photographers in tow. She served 8 days, granting bedside interviews to gossip writers, then stepped out waving a notebook. New script ideas, boys. Paramount rushed cameras to the gate, and her first film, She Done Him Wrong, premiered with the convicted playwright billed as too hot for Broadway, perfect for Hollywood. Universal's Phantom mask drop. For a 1925 re-release of The Phantom of the Opera, Universal mailed 50,000 sealed envelopes labeled Your Nightmare Awaits to random addresses. Inside, a paper replica of Lon Chaney's skull mask and a voucher for half-price admission if worn to the theater. Cities filled with ghostly faces on streetcars and soda fountains. Word of mouth felt supernatural, and attendance nearly equaled first-run numbers, despite the film already being 2 years old. Chaplin's Tramp Stampede. In 1917, First National organized the world's largest Charlie Walk, inviting fans to dress as the Little Tramp and march through downtown Los Angeles. Over 2,000 mustachioed lookalikes clogged Spring Street, each handed a theater ticket and boxed lunch of beans, Chaplin's on-screen staple. The end shot, captured by a rooftop cameraman, showed a sea of bowlers tipping in unison. The stunt launched The Immigrant nationwide with record advance bookings. Ben-Hur's Floating Chariot. Metro's 1925 epic needed ocean buzz, so carpenters mounted a full-size chariot on pontoons, towing it behind a speedboat off Atlantic City. Vacationers watched 2 Roman aurigé racing dolphins while waving scarab-embossed banners for the film. Newsreel footage of surf-sprayed horses, actually fiberglass, convinced landlocked audiences they'd witness action impossible on stage. The extravagance justified premium ticket prices, and exhibitors reported standing room crowds for months. Fox's Cleopatra barge on Broadway. For Theda-Bera's Cleopatra, 1917, Fox built a gold-painted barge, complete with serpent-neck prow, and dragged it up Broadway using hidden tractor wheels. Bera reclined on silk cushions, tossing lotus petals to lunchtime crowds. Police escorts cleared streetcars, but the delay only lengthened Gawker's exposure. Within a week, theater managers bragged the picture had conquered Manhattan as surely as Egypt. Columbia's Lost Diamond Hunt. Publicists for Rita Hayworth's Gilda, 1946, claimed a studio messenger had accidentally scattered a pouch of imitation diamonds across Santa Monica Beach. They offered lifetime passes to anyone returning one. Families spent Easter weekend combing sand, newspapers printing treasure maps supplied by Columbia. In truth, the gems were never buried. But box office treasure flowed when sunburned hunters cooled off inside air-conditioned cinemas. Disney's Snowfall in July. To preview Snow White, 1937, in sweltering Chicago, Disney engineers rigged refrigerated pipes on the theater marquee, sending frosty flakes drifting over State Street. Children shrieked, parents gawked, and local radio broadcast Christmas in July every hour. Vendors sold cocoa instead of soda, creating a winter wonderland that primed families for the fairy tale vibe. Tickets melted away faster than the artificial snow. Selznick's burning letter. David O. Selznick teased Gone with the Wind, 1939, by mailing perfume-scented letters that burst into harmless pink flames when opened, thanks to flash paper sachets. The note inside read, "Atlanta will burn again. Reserve your seat." Fire departments lodged complaints, but magazine editors adored the gimmick. The flaming invitations became coveted souvenirs, sparking pre-sales months before the premiere, Republic's horseback telegrams. For the Western serial Zorro's Fighting Legion, 1939, Republic hired riders to deliver telegrams on horseback through midtown traffic, sabers flashing. Each dispatch challenged the recipient to a duel in Section C, Row 12 of their nearest theater. Office clerks chased after hooves for selfies, and radio announcers narrated the urban stampede. The Legion's Gallop, translated into Saturday matinee sellouts across the Midwest. Samuel Goldwyn's Sky-Written Kisses. Goldwyn wanted teen girls at Ball of Fire, 1941, so he hired 8 planes to skywrite "I love Gary Cooper" above 20 cities. Mothers complained about classroom distractions. Teachers used the smoke trails for spontaneous spelling lessons. Either way, the message anchored itself in gossip columns. When theaters opened, squeals of recognition greeted Cooper's first entrance, proving that romance spelled in clouds drifts straight to the box office. Hal Roach's Laurel and Hardy look-alike draft. During World War II, producer Hal Roach staged a mock military draft of 50 Laurel and Hardy doubles, marching them past recruiting stations while a brass band played "The Stars and Stripes Forever." Posters declared, "Even the boys who can't stop laughing are signing up. Buy a war bond, then buy a ticket." Newsreels framed it as patriotic frenzy, and Jitterbug's ticket buyers felt they were supporting both comedy and country. Selznick's spellbound dream clinic. Alfred Hitchcock's psycho thriller needed intellectual prestige, so Selznick set up a free dream analysis booth outside New York's Astor Theater in 1945. Actual Jungian interns interpreted passers-by nightmares, handing each participant a voucher to see the film's surreal daily sequence. Newspapers labeled it "Therapy on the Sidewalk," and curiosity drew even skeptics. The picture's grosses turned analysts into accidental influencers. Allied artists' invasion of the body snatchers seed giveaway. In 1956, ushers handed patrons sealed paper cups labeled "Warning, keep these pods away from bedrooms." Inside were harmless lima beans. Kids planted them, hoping for alien doubles. Parents dutifully watered the joke. As seedlings sprouted, local papers revisited the stunt, giving the film a second wave of coverage timed to its drive-in rollout. Republic's tornado sirens for the Cyclone Ranger. Midwestern premieres rigged civil defense sirens to howl exactly 10 minutes before showtime. Townsfolk rushed outdoors expecting twisters, only to meet a costumed cowboy lassoing a wind machine outside the marquee. After the heartstop, the theater felt like the safest place on Earth, and Ranger cleaned up at box offices otherwise hurt by storm season. Frankenstein Fright Insurance. Universal partnered with Lloyd's of London in 1931 to sell one-night Frankenstein fear policies. For a nickel, the policy promised $1,000 to any viewer who died of fright during the movie. Theater managers framed the certificates in lobbies. Audiences chuckled, then clenched armrests a little tighter. No claims were paid, but every headline was priceless. Columbia's It Happened One Night Hitchhike Derby. To mimic Clark Gable's thumb technique, Columbia sponsored nationwide hitchhiking races with cash prizes for the quickest coast-to-coast rides. Contestants wore sandwich boards advertising the film and phoned newspapers from each state line. The Great Depression's wanderlust met screwball romance, and the picture became the first to sweep all 5 major Oscars, boosted by real-life road stories that felt crazier than any movie plot. Disney's 7 dwarf wish booths. Ahead of Snow White's 1944 wartime re-release, Disney installed plywood wishing wells in department stores, manned by actors in dwarf costumes. Shoppers dropped coins for the Red Cross and received tiny scrolls predicting happily ever after, starting at your cinema. The blend of charity and charm convinced patriotic families to spend precious ration coupons on tickets. Metro's The Great Ziegfeld Feather Shower. For the 1936 musical, MGM rigged theater rooftops with silent air cannons that burst flurries of white goose feathers over patrons exiting evening shows. Doormen handed out velvet envelopes labeled "A Souvenir from Ziegfeld's Heaven." Collectors kept the soft reminders on vanities, chatting about the surprise for weeks. Repeat viewings spiked, proving that a little mess outside can mop up profits inside. Universal's Wolfman Barber Blitz. To hype the Wolfman, 1941. Universal paid barbers nationwide to sweep evening hair clippings into silver packets stamped "Genuine Werewolf Fur. See it growl on screen." Saturday customers, mostly kids, got the furry souvenirs plus half-price vouchers. Mothers shrieked, boys bragged, and local papers snapped photos of toddlers roaring in booster chairs. Matinee crowds howled back with record sales, proving you can scalp a monster and still make money. Selznick's Mystery Scarlet. Before naming Vivian Lee, producer David O. Selznick planted faceless hoop-skirt silhouettes in Atlanta and New York store windows. Each teased, "She'll steal your heart this Christmas." Shoppers debated Joan Crawford versus Tallulah Bankhead. Newspapers ran betting pools. Exactly 1 week later, Selznick swapped every shadow for Lee's portrait before dawn. Headlines screamed the mystery solved, and advance sales for Gone with the Wind surged faster than Rhett's temper. Warner's Nickel Dance Floor. Launching 42nd Street, 1933. Warner Brothers laid a coin-operated dance floor opposite the New Amsterdam Theater. Each nickel triggered the show's hit tune, while rooftop lights traced Busby Berkeley patterns on pavement. Couples jitterbugged for hours. Photographers sold postcards of the glowing geometry, and when dancers tired, they crossed the street, discovering the ticket price matched the change left in their pockets. Depression Gloom turned into Depression Groove, and the film tapped its way to box office glory. Paramount's Ask May hotline. Ahead of I'm No Angel, 1933, Paramount plastered billboards inviting women to phone Mae West for romance advice. Callers reached a recording full of saucy double entendres ending with, "Now come up and see me big on the screen." Switchboards fried, ATT threatened surcharges, and newspapers printed the naughtiest snippets as news. The long-distance scandal turned a modest comedy into West's biggest hit. Proof that curiosity and phone bills rise together. MGM's two-story birthday cake. For Judy Garland's Sweet 16, MGM rolled a two-story cake onto Hollywood Boulevard, ringed by 365 sparkling candles, one for every show date they claimed she'd play. Garland popped out, leading a street choir in Over the Rainbow. Fire marshals fretted, traffic stalled, and the studio handed slice-shaped invitations to the Meet Me in St. Louis premiere. The teens' star power rose with the smoke, and headlines combined. Columbia's popcorn statues. 8-foot Popcorn Pete figures, built entirely from unpopped kernels, stood under Los Angeles sun to plug "You Can't Take It With You." Hidden heating coils burst each statue into buttery blossoms just as rush-hour traffic crawled past. Drivers braked, kernels rained, and banners beneath read, "Life pops better, see it tonight." Ushers scooped fresh snack bags from the rubble, guiding startled commuters straight to evening showings. Republic's Falling Space Car. Promoting King of the Rocket Men, 1949. Republic dangled a junked sedan beneath a blimp over downtown Dallas. Noon crowds craned skyward as loudspeakers counted down. The car dropped onto a scrapyard, exploding like the serial's cliffhangers. Radio stations aired the stunt live, and teens who skipped lunch sprinted to theaters after school to witness the next drop, this time in color and safely on screen. Disney's small-town pixie flight. Months before Peter Pan, 1953, Disney strung a glittering Tinker Bell to a hidden cable across Marceline, Missouri, Walt's boyhood home. At dusk, a spotlight tracked her glittering glide between church steeple and water tower, while speakers played "You Can Fly." Children chased the airborne sparkle, parents phoned relatives, and coast-to-coast coverage proved a sprinkle of pixie dust can outshine neon. RKO's Summer Ice Tap broadcast. RKO froze Rockefeller Center's rink in midsummer 1936, unleashing Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers doubles to tap dance on ice, while NBC broadcast the Hoofbeats live. Free entry skaters got shoe print flyers for swing time. The surreal clang of taps on frozen steel echoed through radios nationwide, warming even the chilliest markets for the studio's hottest duo. Chaplin's worldwide footprints. United Artists mailed rubber Chaplin foot stamps to theaters in 20 countries for modern times. 1936. Managers inked sidewalks from bus stops to box offices. Pedestrians followed the splay-foot trail like breadcrumbs until posters proclaimed, "The little tramp walked here. Follow him inside." Photos of the prince shuffled across global papers, making audiences swear Charlie had trod their town himself. Fox's CinemaScope, truck windows. To trumpet CinemaScope in 1953, 20th Century Fox cut panoramic windows into delivery trucks and installed curved screens looping The Robe. Parked at busy lunch spots, the gladiators inside filled onlookers' peripheral vision. Street vendors set up beside tailgates, doubling crowds, and theaters soon reported stand room only. Proof even bread trucks can preach widescreen gospel. Allied Artists, tickets for Type O. Ahead of Retreat, Hell, 1952, Allied Artists paired with the Red Cross for blood drive premieres. Donors received free passes and dog tag keychains. Reporters photographed stretchers lining theater sidewalks, praising viewers who bled for realism. Those same donors packed screenings to confirm their sacrifice, and to see if anyone fainted on screen as hard as in the lobby. Hal Roach's Tickle Test Preview. For an Our Gang short, in 1935, Hal Roach invited kids to a tickle test. Each child got a goose feather wand, with orders to poke the adult beside them every time the film made them laugh. Ushers tallied tickles on scoreboards like baseball runs. Newspapers printed the ridiculous stats. And parents bought weekend tickets to verify the numbers, granting Roach 2 audiences for one mischievous stunt. Creature in the department store. Universal installed murky aquariums in big city department stores before Creature from the Black Lagoon. 1954. Timers released bubbles and rubber claws that scraped glass, just as shoppers examined swimsuits. Screams echoed past housewares. Salesgirls handed waterproof coupons. TV crews filmed monster sightings, driving families straight from cash registers to ticket counters, eager to see the full Creature before it crawled into their bathtubs. Aquamarine Taxi Fleet. To sell $1 Million Mermaid, 1952, MGM repainted 50 New York cabs shimmering aquamarine, studded with mirror tiles like fish scales. Drivers wore sailor hats. Roof lights became seashells. Fares received moisture-proof flyers promising the wettest Technicolor miracle since the Atlantic. Glitter cabs bouncing sun off skyscrapers turned midtown traffic into a moving billboard that delivered audiences dock to door. Hitch's Shadow Strike. Paramount teaser vans projected Alfred Hitchcock's profile onto sidewalks at dusk to plug Rear Window. 1954. The ominous shadow loomed over bus stop benches for 10 seconds, then vanished, leaving only a placard. Somebody's always watching. Find out who. Radio call-ins chronicled nightly sightings, turning Hitch himself into an urban legend audiences could track only by buying a ticket. Bugs. Bunny singing telegrams. Promoting What's Opera, Doc? 1957. Warner Brothers had delivery boys lip-sync Mel Blanc's custom telegrams. Each opened with, "Hey, what's up, boss?" before spoofing Wagner and inviting recipients to Saturday matinees. Offices erupted in dueling falsetto Elmer Fudd's. Secretaries begged encores. Adults who never watched cartoons queued up, eager to hear the rabbit hit high C firsthand. Dumbo balloon mailers. Before Dumbo, 1941, Disney attached miniature elephant mailers to helium balloons and released them from Santa Monica Pier. Each postcard promised free peanuts at the movie if found. Balloons drifted across 3 states. Newspapers mapped landings like storm fronts. Children chased pink parachutes, and the modest picture floated into jumbo opening week numbers. Times Square Pie Fight. For Keystone's 25th anniversary reels in 1937, United Artists blocked Times Square for a 3-minute 5,000 pie melee, starring 200 extras as cops and crooks. Newsreel cameras caught every creamy collision, splicing footage into that night's trailers. Those who missed the live mess bought tickets to watch the gooey chaos replayed in exaggerated slow motion. Noir lie detector booth. Promoting the Big Heat, 1953. Columbia parked a working polygraph outside L.A.'s Orpheum. Detectives invited passersby to confess secrets while needles danced across scroll paper. Charts were stamped, "See How Truth Hurts," and doubled as coupon tickets. Tabloids printed anonymous shockers spilled on the sidewalk, and curious sinners lined up to see whether film noir cut deeper inside. Classified cipher hunt. RKO hid cryptic personals in newspaper classifieds before Notorious, 1946. Meet 23rd of May at Café Ipanema. Bring key 14. Amateur code breakers scrambled to libraries, then mailed solutions. Winners received cardboard Enigma wheels and a final decode. See Ingrid Bergman Kiss Danger. Redeemable for preview passes. Sunday puzzle pages turned into espionage recruitment posters, filling lecture hall matinees with proud code crackers. Singing in the Rain, street shower. MGM urged city crews to trigger downtown sprinklers during a staged traffic study at lunch hour. When workers dashed for cover, Gene Kelly doubles in yellow slickers burst out, tap dancing through puddles and handing waterproof lyric sheets. A truck blared the title song. Drenched witnesses called it the happiest ambush ever. Feel-good floods soaked up ticket money that afternoon. Dracula's Midnight Blood Drive. Universal's 1947 re-release of Dracula featured blood at midnight donation stations and theater lobbies. Nurses in satin capes collected plasma, gifting garlic necklaces and free admission vouchers. Radio DJs dared listeners to prove they had what Lugosi wanted. Hospitals gained supplies, the studio gained headlines, and horror became a literal lifesaver. All About Eve. Perfume misters. 20th Century Fox installed automatic stage whisper perfume puffs in theater foyers for All About Eve. 1950. Gardenia, the scent Bette Davis wore on set, wafted whenever doors opened. Ushers handed cards printed with the film's sharpest insults, and patrons found themselves quoting lines while comparing aromas. Critics dubbed it the first movie you can smell and sass, and ticket sales bloomed accordingly. Fifth Avenue Bubble Parade. Columbia heralded CoverGirl, 1944, by hiding bubble machines along Fifth Avenue at window shopping peak. Iridescent spheres drifted around mannequins, dressed like Rita Hayworth, each orb mirroring neon ads. Children chased them. Photographers captured the shimmer. Hayworth posed popping one for Life magazine. The stunt burst into national headlines, and ticket lines glittered long after the last bubble popped. Casablanca's piano that never slept. For a 1944 roadshow of Casablanca, Warner Brothers placed Sam's upright piano on a flatbed truck circling Manhattan nonstop for 24 hours. A tuxedoed pianist played As Time Goes By on loop, while a neon clock above counted the minutes Rick waited for Ilsa. Taxi radios broadcast the melody live, commuters hummed along, and columnists timed crosstown trips by choruses. When the truck finally parked at the Strand Theater, midnight crowds poured straight inside. Miracle Mail Mountain. To tout Miracle on 34th Street, 1947, Fox persuaded the post office to dump 50,000 Dear Santa letters onto Macy's marquee at noon. Paper snow fluttered down Broadway while a loudspeaker boomed, "The U.S. Mail believes, do you?" Volunteers collected envelopes into sleighs, marching them into the theater lobby, where Edmund Gwenn waved his cane. Moviegoers felt they were witnessing federal proof of Kris Kringle and filed in like true believers. The Tarzan Yell citywide siren. MGM arranged a lunchtime siren test in Chicago, but instead of howls, speakers blasted Johnny Weissmuller's signature Tarzan Yell to advertise Tarzan and the Amazons, 1945. Office windows flew open. Pedestrians froze mid-hot dog. When the echo faded, banners unfurled from rooftops reading, "Answer the call in theaters tonight." Radio hosts replayed street-recorded screams, and jungle fever filled every matinee seat the next day. Hitchcock's Birds on a Wire. Before the Birds trailer even existed, Universal seeded telephone lines near San Francisco's ferry building, with mechanical crows that flapped whenever a streetcar passed. Feathers fluttered onto commuters, and a billboard below warned, "This is just a test." Newspapers printed commuter photos, wondering whose prank it was. Hitch revealed the culprit 1 week later on live TV, dissecting a model bird with surgical gloves, hooking audiences before they'd seen a single frame. Treasure Island Gold Hunt. Disney buried 10 steel chests along California beaches prior to the 1950 release of Treasure Island. Each contained chocolate coins, a plastic parrot, and movie passes. Maps were serialized in Sunday funnies. Families spent weekends digging holes like manic pirates. Lifeguards complained, but cinemas filled with sunburned treasure hunters comparing loot. The stunt cost peanuts and raked in real gold at the box office. Bride of Frankenstein lightning booths. Universal erected coin-operated Tesla coils outside select theaters for a 1938 re-release of Bride of Frankenstein. For a nickel, patrons pressed a switch that cracked blue lightning over a wax bride's hairdo. Sparks snapped, screams erupted, and ushers whisked customers from shock to seats. The jolt lasted seconds. The memory stewed all night, electrifying word of mouth, stronger than any newspaper ad. Singing in the Streets, Loudspeaker Rain. To tease Singin' in the Rain for British audiences in 1952, MGM installed concealed mist nozzles atop London lampposts on a clear summer afternoon. As Gene Kelly's recorded whistle piped from hidden speakers, a fine spray-drenched passing brawlies. When bewildered crowds looked up, banners dropped. Only one place makes rain. This much fun. Empire Leicester Square. Sales of matinee tickets and cheap plastic Macs skyrocketed together, the big country's giant lariat. United Artists stretched a 600-foot rope lasso around Dallas City Hall to promote The Big Country, 1958. Rodeo cowboys on horseback cinched the knot, declaring the building caught for frontier justice. Inside the loop, deputies handed courthouse staff free passes. Aerial photos ran nationwide, printing the film title across an entire downtown block and roping in record Texan receipts. Phantom footprints of the Invisible Man. For a 1940 double bill of The Invisible Man returns, Universal employed milk wagon drivers to drip phosphorescent paint behind their wheels at dawn, creating glowing footprints down main streets. As sunrise erased the glow, only a chalk stencil remained. He's gone, but he'll be back tonight. Newsboys pedaled alongside the vanishing prince, selling papers with the same tagline, and screening queues materialized before sunset. The day the earth stood still, clock freeze. Fox convinced 15 jewelry stores to halt their wall clocks at 12 noon precisely 1 week before. The day the earth stood still, 1951. Window cards claimed, "Time has been suspended until you witness the landing." Shoppers tapped glass, clerks shrugged mysteriously, and gossip spread faster than a UFO. When the clocks restarted on opening morning, ticket lines wrapped the blocks like second hands. Giant cotton candy clouds for Wizard 51. For the 1951 re-release of The Wizard of Oz, MGM packed parade floats with industrial cotton candy machines spewing pink clouds scented like bubblegum. Kids followed the sticky vapor trails straight to theater doors, where ushers swapped spun sugar for rainbow foil tickets. Parents grateful for a quiet afternoon followed, and Oz's Technicolor Tornado spun cash registers wildly anew. The Lone Ranger silver bullet swap. Republic mailed 500,000 aluminum silver bullets, stamped with matinee times for the 1938 Lone Ranger cereal. Patrons could trade a bullet at concession stands for nickel popcorn. Kids wore the trinkets on strings, jingling down hallways like pocket spurs. Teachers tolerated the racket for a week until Saturday, when classrooms emptied into dark theaters and lunchboxes echoed hollow victory. Oklahoma. Cornfield Chorus. Ahead of the 1955 film version, Magna Theater Corporation planted a pop-up corn maze in Times Square's Father Duffy Square overnight. Dawn commuters found costumed farmers belting, "Oh, what a beautiful mornin'." Yellow message boards directed foot traffic through stalks toward advance sale kiosks. By noon, the maze was trampled flat, but not before every ticket seller in Midtown sang "Surrey with the Fringe" on top, to a record-setting tune. The Thin Man's Missing Dog poster push. MGM blanketed Los Angeles telephone poles with faux Missing Asta posters days before Shadow of the Thin Man, 1941. The number led to a worried Nick Charles voice recording, begging tips and inviting callers to search the last known address, Grauman's Chinese Theater. Arriving sleuths found Asta wagging on the red carpet beside a ticket booth disguised as a doghouse, and stayed for a mystery they were halfway through solving. Samson and Delilah Barbershop Massacre. For Cecil B. DeMille's 1949 epic, Paramount recruited barbers to pile cut hair into baskets labeled Delilah's Trophy Locks. Displayed in shop windows, the mounds hinted at biblical scalping and offered loyalty coupons. Bring in your own clipping, get half off a ticket. The idea horrified some, delighted others, and sparked heated radio debates that only ended when audiences saw the real shearing on a giant Technicolor screen. Holiday Inn Snow Truck. In July 1942, Paramount filled a refrigerated truck with fresh mountain snow, parking it outside Radio City Music Hall. Bing Crosby doubles-tossed snowballs at panting pedestrians, while loudspeakers crooned "White Christmas." Meltwater trickled across sizzling sidewalks, guiding bemused New Yorkers into air-conditioned comfort. By the time the last flake vanished, Holiday Inn had iced its first-week revenue goal. The Harvey Rabbit Rampage. Universal hired 6-foot actors in invisible rabbit suits, white gloves, floating bowler, nothing else, to ride streetcars, promoting Harvey, 1950. Conductors pretended confusion as invisible fares rang bells and stamped phantom tickets. Commuters laughed, children reached for absent ears, and the gag hopped onto front pages. Viewers soon followed puka footprints to theaters, eager to see the rabbit they couldn't see beside them. South Pacific Sunlamp Challenge. Rogers and Hammerstein's screen adaptation needed tan leads, so 20th Century Fox installed free coin-operated sun lamps outside cinemas in 1958. Patrons received punch cards to track minutes under UV while waiting for showtime. Whoever matched Mitzi Gaynor's bronze by closing weekend won a Hawaiian shirt. Dermatologists complained, teenagers competed, and the tropical contest warmed ticket sales no publicity flyer could. Ben-Hur Chariot Taxi Derby. For the 1959 epic preview tour, MGM fitted New York horse carriage drivers with Roman armor and bronze taximeters labeled denarii. Tourists hailed chariots, snapping photos as steeds clopped down Fifth Avenue. At the Metropolitan premiere, passengers received scrolls converting their fare to admission tickets. The Clip-Clop campaign thundered across gossip columns, turning city streets into a preview lane for the most expensive race on film, the African Queen Riverboat Parade. United Artists floated a replica of Bogart's sputtering riverboat down the Thames before the 1952 London opening. Black smoke puffed, leaky whistles squealed, and a Katharine Hepburn lookalike waved a teacup at Tower Bridge. Barges blared, "Rule Britannia," while banners read, "Set sail tonight, Odeon Leicester Square." Dock restaurants offered gin and quinine specials, and the cinema reported capacity crowds of seasick romantics. Dracula's mirrorless makeover. During a 1953 revival, Universal sent stylists to beauty parlors to cover mirrors with velvet drapes tagged "Mirror out of order. Blame Count Dracula." Customers checked hair via compact reflections, giggling at the gimmick. After the appointment, each received a lipstick red pass for that night's midnight show. Parlors reported appointment surges, while theaters enjoyed fresh-coiffed scream queens filling every row. Carousel warps Times Square. For Carousel, 1956, Fox erected a full merry-go-round in Times Square, but reversed the motor so horses ran backwards, turning time to match the plot's afterlife twist. Riders dismounted, wobbly yet exhilarated, accepting souvenir tickets good for show dates only if redeemed before your time runs out. The backward ride pulled forward an advance sellout. Gilda's glamour gloves drop. Columbia dropped hundreds of satin, elbow-length gloves from the balcony at the Gilda 1946 premiere party, each embroidered with a seat number for the next day's first showing. Guests awoke to find their glamorous admission slips in purses or coat pockets and hustled back, wearing the accessories. Tabloids shot the sea of waving white arms, proving you can hand out style and still get hired back for more. The War of the Worlds, Martian Siren. Paramount arranged for civil defense sirens to wail green instead of red lights the night before. The War of the Worlds, 1953, opened. Spotters projected a glowing saucer onto low clouds, while announcers reassured residents it was only a premiere rehearsal. Newspapers compared the stunt to Orson Welles' Panic. Ticket buyers flocked to see if the new film could top the radio terror with Technicolor destruction. Sunset Boulevard funeral procession. To herald Sunset Boulevard, 1950, Paramount staged a midnight funeral for Silent Pictures down Hollywood Boulevard. A glass hearse carried a cracked nitrate reel labeled Glory Days, trailed by extras wearing 1920s attire and carrying extinguished arc lamps. At Grauman's, mourners lowered the coffin into a fake grave, and a spotlight rose on Gloria Swanson atop the marquee, declaring, "I'm ready for my comeback." The macabre pageant drew thousands to witness cinema's resurrection on screen, King Kong's beach footprints. Weeks before a 1952 re-release of King Kong, RKO rolled a cement paw print mold across Santa Monica at low tide, then filled each crater with black dye and banana peels. Dawn joggers trailed 30 perfect 3-foot tracks into the surf where waves erased the evidence. Lifeguards phoned newspapers, tourists gathered souvenirs, and the studio posted signs, "He came back! Follow him to the Fox Wilshire tonight." Crowds stampeded just like the Prince, Dial M for Murder's 3D glasses parade. To prove 3D wouldn't cause headaches, Warner Brothers marched a brass band down Times Square, wearing crimson and cyan paper specs shaped like telephones. Drum majors twirled magnified M batons, while ushers handed matching glasses to pedestrians and counted how many blocks they could walk without tripping. Reporters joined the spectacle and printed photos in perfect focus, viewable only with the free glasses. The gimmick nailed the point: see hitch in depth or miss half the fun. Space Screen Zeppelin. For it came from outer space, 1953. Universal tethered a blimp over Los Angeles dusk traffic, its underbelly converted into a curved silver screen, projecting 90-second 3D clips. Commuters, stuck in gridlock, watched meteors streak literally overhead, then followed searchlights to the closest drive-in showing. Police cited sky-viewing gridlock, which only inflated newspaper coverage and turned curiosity into lift-off ticket sales. Psycho's blood-red fountains. Paramount secretly dyed water in 4 downtown fountains, bright crimson, the night before Psycho, 1960, opened. At dawn, officials found placards floating. "It's only a shower. Or is it?" Tourists shrieked selfie gold. City Hall fumed but couldn't flush the dye before lunchtime papers splashed cover images. Hitchcock's request that no one be admitted after the start suddenly felt like public safety advice, and lines curled vampirically around city blocks. 3 Coins, Gondola Choir. 20th Century Fox imported Venetian gondoliers to row Central Park's lake, singing the film's theme song for 3 Coins in the Fountain, 1954. Passengers received pre-1960 Italian lyre to toss sky high. Each splash triggered hidden speakers chanting, "Make a wish, catch the film." Coins glittered beneath the water, newspapers listed their value, and moviegoers felt they'd already invested in romance before stepping inside plush seats. Quo vadis legion, flash mob. MGM drilled 300 USC drama majors in Roman legion drills, then unleashed them at noontime LA intersections. Centurions locked shields into a tortoise formation, parted traffic and cried, "Make way for Caesar at Grauman's Chinese!" Each phalanx marched tourists to the box office, where ticket sellers in laurels stamped stubs with wax seals. By sundown, every extra had also marched a date back for the evening show. Lassie's Lost Dog Siren Trucks. For Courage of Lassie, 1946, MGM dispatched animal control vans blaring an emergency bark recording, handing children flyers. "Help find Lassie. Reward inside Rialto Theater." Kids chased the truck through neighborhoods, parents followed, and the barking convoy parked curbside only when the first evening show started. Every junior rescuer traded their flyer for a seat, conditioning Pavlovian box office droves across 3 states. The Red Shoes confetti rain. Before its U.S. bow, J. Arthur Rank rigged Manhattan rooftops with cannons firing crimson ballet slipper confetti at rush hour. Taxi vents sucked the flakes inside, dusting commuters' sleeves. Each piece bore a stamped heel print and showtime. Riders arrived home still sprinkled in scarlet, and curiosity pirouetted straight to ticket windows. City sweepers groaned, but exhibitors leapt for joy. Sherlock's smoky clues. United Artists placed giant fiberglass pipes atop London buses for The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, 1939. Timed billows of vanilla-scented vapor formed Morse code puffs spelling "Tonight at Odeon." Amateur sleuths translated the Sky message and bragged in pubs, dragging mates to verify Holmes's latest deduction on screen. Titanic iceberg at the Strand. To launch A Night to Remember, 1958, Rank shipped a 40-ton iceberg from Greenland, parking it in a refrigerated glass trailer outside the Strand Theater. Streetlights reflected in crystalline ridges, while a string quartet played "Nearer, My God, to Thee." Patrons touched the ice through porthole gloves and pocketed souvenir shards in thermos flasks, melting just as the ship sank on film. Spaghetti stampede for Lady and the Tramp. Disney set a 100-foot banquet table down Little Italy, serving free spaghetti from silver fire troughs, while accordionists serenaded diners. Couples slurped one noodle from opposite ends. The Last Kiss won premiere tickets. Photographers captured sauce-splattered faces, and the Canine Romance's signature scene went viral decades before the term existed, right alongside marinara-scented ticket sales. 20,000 Leagues Submarine Sidewalk. Disney parked a full-scale Nautilus mock-up on a flat car outside Chicago's State Lake Station. Commuters boarded through a fabricated airlock, walked a corridor lit by green portholes showing rubber squids, then exited directly into the theater lobby. The 60-second undersea commute made the Illinois Central feel downright dry. Audiences surfaced from the picture, gasping and buying return voyages. Broomstick traffic jam. Columbia mailed 5,000 witch brooms to Manhattan cab companies stamped "Reserved for Bell, Book, and Candle Preview Night." Drivers wedged them upright in back seats, refusing passengers unless they agreed to ride astride. Gridlocked avenues looked like Halloween rehearsals. Laughing fares dismounted at the Roxy, broom in hand, and cast a spell of full houses all week. Flying carpet school bus. For a Technicolor 1940 re-release of The Thief of Baghdad, Selznick retrofitted a yellow school bus with hidden hydraulic lifts and silk skirting painted like Persian tapestry. At parade speed, the skirt flared, hiding wheels so the bus appeared to hover. Children climbed aboard, squealing, and parents bought afternoon tickets merely to learn the secret. revealed only after the final curtain call. Rosebud, skywriting. During a 1956 revival, RKO hired 5 crop dusters to spell ROSEBUD over 5 Midwestern capitals simultaneously, refusing press questions for 24 hours. Conspiracy theories bloomed, from political slogans to florist promos, until newspaper morgues unearthed Citizen Kane. Revival bookings spiked overnight, and Orson Welles sent telegrams thanking the skies for still being the greatest billboard on Earth. Sleeping Beauty's citywide nap-in. Disney invited office workers to a company-sanctioned siesta 3 p.m. sharp on opening Friday. Participating firms dimmed lights and piped Tchaikovsky lullabies. Nurses distributed pink eye shades branded with Aurora's crown. After a 15-minute snooze, employees received coupons reading, "Awaken with True Love's ticket tonight." The novelty of mandated napping translated into refreshed crowds who stayed awake happily through the film's climactic dragon fight. Anchor's away whistle drill. MGM delivered bosun whistles to downtown lunch counters, instructing waiters to blow them whenever Gene Kelly's Navy musical number aired on in-store radios. Diners saluted on reflex, then laughed at themselves. Cashiers swapped whistles for cut-rate matinee tickets, and afternoon seat counts climbed as fast as recruits answering a bugle. Cinderella's glass slipper grocery hunt. For the 1950 animated release, Disney hid 500 miniature plexiglass slippers inside flour sacks at major supermarkets, each containing a folded royal invitation. Bakers discovered them first. The story leapt to radio, and housewives tore open bags, searching for their fairy tale pass. Sales of flour and tickets rose together, proving magic works best when mixed with yeast. Eternity Beach Kiss Contest. Columbia taped a white line in Waikiki Surf where Burt Lancaster and Deborah Kerr locked lips in From Here to Eternity, 1953. Couples queued at dawn, waiting to reenact the famous smooch before judges holding stopwatches. The longest kiss won a honeymoon suite and instant newsreel fame. Tourists booked flights simply to compete, then cooled passion in evening air conditioning with the original heat on screen. "I am Spartacus Stadium" shout. Universal rented the LA Coliseum on a non-game Sunday, packing 20,000 extras with free soda and a singular script. When Kirk Douglas appeared on the Jumbotron, everyone stood screaming, "I am Spartacus." The roar registered on seismographs at Caltech, making local headlines. Those throats, freshly hoarse, marched straight to multiplexes to relive the echo without sunburn. Parted Sea Lobby for the 10 Commandments. Paramount installed 2 15-foot acrylic walls in theater lobbies, pumping blue-lit bubbles upward to mimic parted waters. A hidden fan dried patrons, walking the Red Sea carpet as thunderclaps boomed overhead. Kids darted back through for encore crossings. Ushers jokingly demanded a second ticket for every extra miracle. High noon gunshot clock. Days before release, United Artists placed synchronized starter pistols in 100 jewelry stores, rigged to fire a blank at exactly 12 o'clock each day. Shoppers jumped. Clerks flipped sand timers marked, "You have 90 minutes to reach the Paramount." Matinees began at 1:30, and curious patrons arrived breathless, right on time for Gary Cooper's showdown. Stagecoach Horse Parade. For a 1945 reissue of Stagecoach, Republic organized a dawn cattle drive of 40 horses pulling the original Stagecoach down Broadway. Cowboys tossed apples to office clerks. Announcers counted each hoofbeat, and policemen escorted the dusty convoy straight through the doors of the Strand Theater, still hitched. City grit met frontier grit, filling seats with ticket-waving tenderfoots. Giants gusher on Sunset. Warner Brothers drilled a fake oil well beside Cinerama Dome ahead of Giant, 1956. Timed pumps spewed black-dyed water 60 feet skyward every half hour, while James Dean's portrait loomed behind the spray. Drivers detoured just to watch the fountain erupt, and detoured again into the box office to see Texas fortunes gush in Technicolor. Apartments' ringing telephone marathon. United Artists wired 500 payphones across Manhattan to ring simultaneously at 6 p.m. opening night. Answering passerby heard Jack Lemmon sigh, "Buddy boy, if you need a place tonight, go straight to the Capitol Theater." Confused commuters compared notes, forming sidewalk discussion circles that dissolved only when they followed instructions, boosting premiere night to sold-out capacity. Some like it hot conga line. To cap Marilyn Monroe's 1959 romp, United Artists recruited 300 cross-dressed volunteers to lead Times Square's longest conga line. Police cruisers cleared traffic as saxophones blasted "Runnin' Wild." Each dancer wore a sandwich board reading "Nobody's perfect, but tonight's show is." Tourists joined mid-stride, congaing straight through the Paramount doors and into history with a box office record as dazzling as Monroe's final wink.